Hey folks, it's your girl Dominique. Before my good friend Sara and I tickle your head trumpets with some awesome and frankly scary and hopefully engaging stories of true crime with some comedy and some fun mixed in, I want to let you know that the subjects we're about to discuss are heavy and serious and include, but are not limited to, of course, murder, sexual assault, and rape. If that might be triggering or upsetting to you, we don't blame you, and we like for you to look after your own well-being. So if you need to sit this one out, that's okay with us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening in, and please take care during this tough time. Welcome back. What we are going to need from you guys when you do listen to this is your input on what our new podcast should be called. It's me and Sara. We want your input.
Yes.
Hello. Let us know.
Because all of our ideas are taken.
Yeah, all of our ideas so far have been taken, and I feel like they've been good too. So your ideas were good. My interloping on your ideas was also epic, but yeah, my treading all over the ideas you already came up with was great and epic too. No, really, we do want to know what to call our show and what you guys feel. Even if you don't know if it's taken, just throw it out there and we can check and let you know what we find out.
Maybe we can do some kind of mashup between names or something like that.
I like that. We could do a mashup.
Crowdsourcing.
Crowdsourcing.
The term I've seen on Facebook recently.
Yes. I'm always doing like social experiments and like asking strange questions, and I'm always like crowdsourcing data for my next episode, and I just feel lucky that people even still talk to me at this point. But
I feel the same way that like, hey, I still have friends.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm an asshole, but I still have friends.
Me too. People still like me, I guess, or at least are too afraid to unfriend me. Maybe they secretly hate us. We don't know. But, yeah, I mean, at least I feel like I'm pretty transparent with, like, if I'm going to use something for a show. Because I know that sometimes people do not love having, like, a writer and a podcaster in their midst who's going to, like, use stuff as fodder for their next show or their next book or post or whatever.
Right.
So today we're going to be discussing I don't even know if there is an appropriate term to describe this person, but it's
nightmare fuel?
Yes, this nightmare fuel of an individual, and he's called Daniel LaPlante. You are more than welcome, guys, to go ahead and look him up and Google him. You're not going to find a ton about him, but you might be able to find a little bit of information on what's happening now. His trial has been very interesting. He's asked for a retrial. He's asked for clemency. But before we get into any of that, if we even do in this episode, let's discuss why he's on our list for true crime.
Like Dominique was saying, it is a little hard to come by information from this guy. So I'm not sure how many of you guys have actually heard of Daniel LaPlante, but I like to think I'm fairly well versed with the macabre and things like that.
It's true.
Always. However, I was unaware of this particular guy until my husband stumbled upon his story while scrolling Reddit one night. I don't want to get into too much up top, but LaPlante was convicted of a triple murder in 1987. And to be honest, due to the specifics of this crime, we had a really hard time researching this story, and we'll get into why.
We don't know a lot about him, and I think that's part of the reason that he is so frightening in a way, because he is largely still a mystery, and even his motivations are to an extent still a mystery. But his early life, well, his life in general, started on May 15th, 1970, when he was born. He lived with his mom and his stepfather. They grew up in Townsend, Massachusetts, and unfortunately, he had a really rough start to life. Daniel LaPlante was sexually and psychologically abused by quite a few adults in his life, by his father, by a trusted psychiatrist. He was just abused. He was treated pretty terribly, and he didn't have any adults who he could really trust or open up to. we don't know exactly what happened, and we're just going to be honest from the get-go about that. He ended up living with his mother. Sara and I kind of think that maybe that has something to do with the abuse that he experienced at his father's hands. So, of course, being that all that is the case, all of that is true, he's been through a large amount of abuse. So when he starts school, he begins struggling and dropping off. He's diagnosed with dyslexia. Go ahead if you would like to follow up there.
As a former educator, I find it kind of remarkable that he received that kind of diagnosis in the 1970s at such an early age. With that said, at that time, that diagnosis was, I have found, was kind of a catch-all.
It was.
I mean, even in the 90s, I mean, you were diagnosed with LD, and then later it comes out, no, you're on the spectrum. You're on the autism
you're
spectrum,
ASD or
stuff like that. I mean, I was diagnosed with ADD.
Me
but
too.
I'm pretty sure I'm ADHD. Like,
well,
I mean,
yeah,
same. At that point, I do find it interesting that at least he was seeing counselors and things of that nature to at least get a diagnosis. But dyslexia. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. What I was gonna say on that note is, at that, just building on what you said, at that time, because it was so difficult to come across a diagnosis like that, and from a practitioner or a teacher's standpoint, it was odd to come across a very specific diagnosis of that nature. But for him, on his side of things, to specifically be diagnosed with dyslexia, I'm going to say he must have really been struggling quite a bit, to the extent that people were really well alerted to his differences and his peculiarities at that point. And it seems like there was a very sort of a public understanding between the people who knew him and the adults in his life, as well as his classmates back then, that this kid was not well. Whatever they thought the issues might be, he wasn't well. I would suspect, and I can't diagnose certainly from afar, and I am not trying to, but I would suspect personally just that the dyslexia is more of a symptom of something along the personality disorder cluster B line, because normal, I don't want to use normal as a catch-all either, but functional, even neurotypical or neurotypical adjacent individuals are not going to be doing some of the things that he did in later life.
Yeah, I was going to say, diagnosis aside, his classmates described him as creepy and weird, which we hear time and time again when it comes to any kind of killer, really. That's not just something that was passion-based.
Right.
Or something like that. Anybody with any kind of premeditation, generally speaking, especially multiples, they always described as either super creepy, super weird, or he was totally normal. A little quiet, but totally normal.
Really quiet, i.e. I'm just assuming he was normal because I never heard shit from him ever.
Right. He kept to himself.
Yeah. Which, again, it's like, hey, now I'm not saying everyone who keeps to themselves, by the way, is a serial killer, just to back that up.
Mind you, I'm like, we keep to ourselves. But,
but not like that.
Right.
And also, you're not off living in someone's house.
Well, true. Anyway, due to the creepy and weird issues, as a teenager, he was finally referred to a psychiatrist due to that abnormal behavior, his appearance, and a general lack of hygiene.
Before I forget to say this, when a person in general, but a child in specific, is not just like a little bit out of the norm with regard to hygiene, but when they're like really struggling with hygiene, it's likely that they've gone through some sort of sexual abuse of some sort.
Well, and not even if it's a sexual abuse necessarily. I was just listening or just learning about Joey Ramone, who had almost crippling OCD and would not like shower and things like that. So that lack of hygiene is usually some kind of, or a severe lack of hygiene is a symptom of something bigger, generally speaking. Yeah. But I was going to say, it's always nice to hear when somebody who needs help gets help. Yes. And that's always a really good sign, especially when they're young. However, unfortunately, in LaPlante's case, he was sexually abused by the psychiatrist, so he was discharged from care.
Yes.
So it's really honestly heartbreaking to hear that here's a kid who's already having issue upon issue upon issue, and then there's another adult who abuses him. Someone that should be trusted.
Yeah, exactly. Who should be trusted. And by the way, like the power dynamic in that sort of a relationship is so uneven.
Oh, yeah. And especially at his age too.
Yeah.
I mean, at any age, but especially as an impressionable teenager with all of these other fucking issues.
Yeah. And this history of abuse, like, can you even imagine you've been abused by the people who are supposed to take care of you and be there for you, and then they're like, it's like, okay, well, you can't trust these people. They're your parents. You can't trust them. They're not going to look out for you. But okay, here's this teacher, and this teacher is telling you to go to a psychiatrist, and in this case, and trust them. It's okay. Like, this person will steer you right, and then that person abuses you too. Like, I can't even imagine what that would do to someone.
No. No, especially, I mean, and who knows what else like happened in his life. Judging by his actions, I'm sure he hit that. I think it's called the McDonald 3 or the McDonald triad or whatever.
Yes.
I'm sure he had severe head trauma. I wouldn't be surprised if he was hurting or abusing animals at this point, things like that.
Absolutely. And he does fall into this criminal life, and it's very unfortunate and very strange. One reason that I've read that he sort of fell into that life of crime is because he really didn't have anywhere to live. And when he was discharged from the care of the psychiatrist who he was seeing, he didn't really have anywhere to go. He was briefly arrested and then let go. And you can't just, it's like, it's a cycle. You can't just let somebody who's mentally ill out on the street. They're going to end up in prison, which is going to get them put back into a facility. They're going to be released. They're going to end up back out on the street, commit a crime. It's a cycle.
Right.
So just, not trying to just like gawk at some mentally ill guy's like misfortune or something. I just want to make that very plain. But his criminal activities are nonetheless very bizarre. And he begins to really get into some very strange behavior, including breaking into homes, randomly stealing items from homes, and like you mentioned with the McDonald triad, he is taking trophies from his victims at this point. He's breaking into homes, he's taking things, he's moving things around, he's trying to like exert some sort of power over these people by virtue of just, I've moved things around. I've been here. Someone was here. Don't feel like you can be safe when you're alone in your house, which is why this is such fucking nightmare fuel.
So what I thought was really interesting is he really does follow a lot of different serial killers' patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So it's super, I can't believe I'm using this word, but I'm going to roll with it. It's super normal for serial killers to start with things like petty theft.
Yes.
For example, H.H. Holmes.
Yes.
Who is super interesting. He was a thief and a con artist first, and then a architect second, and
a murderer
third.
And then a murderer.
So it's kind of, like I said, quote unquote normal for them to do things like this. This is very on brand for like Richard Ramirez, who I will always really want to call Richie Ramirez because that was his childhood nickname.
Little Richie.
Right?
Little
Richie. Richie Ramirez.
Richie.
With the scraggly hair, and he smelled like wet leather.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Wet leather and bad breath.
Oh, God.
Fun, right?
Yes, I love that. This is such a good image.
Fun, right? He would go and steal things. I like your thought of him taking trophies and definitely just trying to wreak havoc, cause terror. Like, if you come home and like shit is not where you left it, you're gonna be like, was I drunk last night? I don't think I was drunk last night.
Yes.
How high was I?
Yes.
You know?
Did the kid, or if you have children or animals, what was the animal doing? What was the kid doing? What was your
I have ghosts?
Yeah, do I have ghosts? And this, of course, just throwing this out there for anybody who hasn't thought of this. This was in the 1980s when things were, you didn't have cloud cameras up in your living room or up at your door or motion sensors. I mean, you really would have no idea if somebody had been in your home, and that's what makes it so scary.
Right, right. To up the fear factor, in 1986, he got a phone number from one of his previous victims. I'm not quite sure how he got this phone number.
Well, apparently, okay, he got it, supposedly, he got it from a friend of a friend. I have yet to verify who it was, but I guess he knew one, I don't know, one of the girl's fellow students at school or something.
Yeah, that's what they thought, but I wasn't sure if that was like just like he said that he got this
Right.
way, but we don't really know.
And we really don't, but
right,
that's what I
right.
hear.
Right. So he got a phone number from this previous burglary victim, and the house belonged to a single father that lived there with his two daughters, Annie and Jessica Andrews, and they were both about the same age as LaPlante. Mm-hmm. And again, following the same formula as before, he began to stalk these girls, and he started calling them. So
I
was going to say, so that's fun with no caller ID or anything like that.
Exactly, with no information on who you're talking to, who is calling. It's totally before any of that stuff was ubiquitous like it is now. But it apparently their mom had died recently, so these girls were in trauma, and to then be really essentially be being stalked, but have it seem like, oh, this Prince Charming is here and he's gonna like come sweep me off my feet. Yeah. That's gotta have like had the children been a little shook about that. I would have at that age been like, oh my God, come take me away on your white horse.
I mean, like, we all kind of have that Disney complex where we're like, yeah, so it's like that Cinderella sort of thing where it's like, oh, someone's going to sweep me off my feet and blah, blah, blah.
Right. And then here's this guy is.
This asshole.
Yeah. So. And the girl was probably like, whoa there when she met him, but I'm skipping ahead. Please feel free to.
I was going to say, so like we said earlier, both of the girls were under this impression that a friend of theirs gave LaPlante their phone number.
Yeah.
And so that with that working assumption, one of the girls, Annie, decided to go on a date with him. Because it's like, well, I mean, like, who knows how long he was calling and who knows how long they were like talking and stuff like that. I mean, I guess we could equate it to like online dating in a way.
Right.
But needless to say, it didn't go well. LaPlante described himself as being tall and handsome and blonde. And then he showed up and he appeared to be unwashed and disheveled. And this added to this overall feeling of something was really, really wrong. Oh, go on.
And on the date, of course, this poor girl can't get out of it at this point. I believe they went to like to a fair or something, and
oh God,
she was just kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to ask some questions about him and then make my excuses and go home. Well, apparently he would not let her do that at all. In fact, he started asking her some really bizarre questions about herself and her family and her life, and apparently once he found out that her mother had died tragically of cancer, he just got like laser focused and hooked on that, and in fact, I guess he really creeped her out quite a bit, and she just felt super uncomfortable and left.
Oh. So honestly, it wasn't a second date.
Yeah.
It sounds like this Annie was just like the sweetest thing, because she only finished the date because she felt real bad for him. Yeah. And I mean, like, I've gone on some really shitty dates.
Yes.
Like, I've dated some really questionable people.
Yep.
But then it takes it to like a whole new level.
Yes, and I remember a long time ago, I was like, I like texted you or something. I'm like, can you just like call me halfway through just in case this guy's a complete piece of shit?
I believe If I remember correctly, we had a code for
Yes,
either of our dates.
yes, we did.
If I text you this, you tell me that someone died.
Yes.
If I text you this, my car broke down.
Yes. And it's like, of course, someone has probably not died. That would be a way over the top.
No,
Someone's
but
car
it
was
was,
probably not broken
oh my
down,
God, I
but-
have to leave right now.
Yeah.
Or, oh my God, it was this, or oh my God, it was that.
Yes.
We had fake numbers to give
Yes.
people that would hit on us.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh my God.
And like sometimes back in the day though, you guys, sometimes at the club or whatever in the bar, you would meet somebody and they just wouldn't leave you the hell alone.
Oh my God.
And so you would hand them out this number that essentially was like 1-800 go suck a bag of dicks or something. And
I used to save those on my phone.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I'd be like, oh, here's another dick hotline. Well, guess what number I'm giving out next time? And then yeah, the guy would just call and get the fuck you message.
Right.
But obviously this is a long time ago in and of itself. But
I was gonna say that's like the early mid 2000s.
Yeah,
we were doing this.
Yes, and now this is like dinosaur technology even now.
Oh,
but
yeah.
In the 80s, God, there was no such thing.
Mm-hmm.
And also I want to point out that
I was going to say, it is easier to ghost somebody back then.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. It was very easy to go. It was easier to ghost somebody. And conversely, I think you had to kind of be a little bit more mindful and keep in mind that when you were out, you were out. You were nobody could call you on your cell phone or text you. You were out and you really needed to be careful and watch out for yourself. So
you had to try to find a payphone and have the money to call. Yes,
and in a situation like this, I think that it's totally reasonable to look at what Annie did and go, okay, well, I probably would have done that too. You don't want to create a fuss. You don't want the guy to go nuts on you.
Well, and even now to an extent, it's I mean, it's like half the time I would talk to somebody, it's just like, let me try to figure out a nice excuse to let him down easy so he doesn't like stalk me to my car and do stupid crazy shit.
Exactly. And then thinking about a similar situation back then honestly scares the bejesus out of me. And thank God I live in 2020, even with everything going on right now.
Even though it's a dumpster fire now?
Yeah, even though it's a dumpster fire, I would rather be able to leave a situation safely during a dumpster fire. But yeah, so this poor girl probably was very freaked out and couldn't do anything about it. So please go ahead. I just wanted to interject there.
Oh no, that's totally fine. So because there was not a second date, and this is reason number one why we've had such a hard time with this research, as it terrifies the living shit out of us.
God, yes.
LaPlante did the only reasonable thing, and he proceeded to sneak into their home and live in their crawl space and walls for 2 months.
Yeah, guys, wait a minute. You're telling me you haven't done that? If you really like someone, I'm sorry, why haven't you done that? Why are you not from the walls?
I've never really been in love then.
Yeah, I guess I've never been in love. Sorry. Oh, to be loved that much.
Anyway, so I have a couple questions. Question number one, what in the fuck?
Yes.
Like what? Like what?
And ew, by the way.
Yeah.
Ugh. No.
A lot of, question number two, he was 16.
Right. Why
16? What did his mom say? Where in the hell was she? 2 months.
Yes. And where were any of the adults in his life?
Because he was 16.
Yeah. What really? Where was anyone who gave a shit about this kid? Or did anyone give a shit about this kid?
And to follow up, question number 3, what in the actual fuck?
Yes.
2 months?
The shit.
Right?
And he, apparently during this time, and lest anyone think that he was just living in there because he felt that it was the only place he could reasonably go or something. No. He was there to freak these people out. He would tap on the walls. He would leave mysterious messages that looked like they were written apparently in blood, but truly they were just written in ketchup. Ick. Yuck. And
oh God, think of that smell.
I can't, oh God, with the vinegar and everything. That's what would have angered me more than anything. Like, are you kidding me? Vinegar on my walls? You know what peracetic acid does to paint, you jackass? But it's really like, I can't even imagine. As a kid, I would not have put 2 and 2 together. I would have been like, holy shit, there is a ghost writing in blood on my walls. We're all going to hell.
Writing in ketchup because it smells like ketchup. Like, yes,
well, true. Maybe. I mean, God only knows.
I mean, at the first, I feel like we'll say, when I was 16, I would have totally thought it was blood until I smelled it. Because,
me too.
Like,
yeah.
Because it's like, oh my God, that is ketchup. That is stale ketchup.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm gonna go gag over here right now. But like, I just, for a while, I'll be like, well, actually, my first thought at 16 would have been like, how did the ghost get the ketchup out of the fridge?
Yes. Yeah, ghosts don't have hands or opposable thumbs as far as I'm aware. So
last time I checked,
I did not find that in my findings that ghosts had any of those things. So what the fuck?
Next time we break out the spirit, we'll just ask.
Yeah, we'll just ask.
Opposable thumbs.
Do you guys have the ability to grip bottles, like maybe
random condiments?
Yeah, condiment bottles and flip open caps. But they, these kids were in trauma, and I think that's something to note, that they were still recovering emotionally from their mother's death. And of course, one of the things that brought this particular side of Daniel LaPlante out is that the girls just happened to break out a Ouija board one night, and they obviously, Annie had talked extensively with LaPlante about her mom because he was being a creeper and pushing her and asking her so much about her. So he knew the story, and he probably knew a few things that most people wouldn't know about the relationship between Annie and her mom. Unfortunately, Annie was unaware that this guy was living in her walls. So the girls broke out the spirit board. They come home. They're working on the spirit board. And again, keeping in mind that Annie had just come back from like the worst blind date of all time. Yeah. Where they obsessed about the death of her mom. Of course, that's going to bring things up for her. So upon coming home from their date, she and her sister decide they're going to break out that Ouija board, and they decide that their mom has made contact with them through the Ouija board because of the knocking on the walls, which, excuse me, like, not only is this guy living in their walls, but he is pretending to be the deceased spirit of their mom? What? No, thank you. And it doesn't stop there, because he leaves the messages, not just once, by the way, the quote-unquote messages in blood on the walls. And when they don't take the hint, he begins not just knocking, not just leaving messages, but pounding and banging on the walls. And he, of course, only does it when the dad is either not close or not at home. And so, of course, that's just fully gaslighting these poor kids and their dad. After the first message that they saw written in ketchup on the walls, they ran out of the house. They skedaddled on over to a neighbor's house, and of course, being genuinely frightened, they call their dad to come home from work, and dad comes home. They don't get the best reaction from him. He thinks it's a poorly timed prank by two kids who are struggling to get over the death of their mom. But then it happens again, and this time it happens where the dad can see it. By this time, the girls think that the house is quite literally being terrorized by a fucking demon. And in a way, it was.
It was. He is a demon.
He's a demon, basically.
Yeah.
So the final occasion where the dad hears the knocking, sees the messages, comes about. The dad is headed up to here. He's fed up with it. He's like, you know what? Enough. Like, I work hard. You guys, I'm trying to calm down after work. I'm trying to rest and relax. You need to chill it out with the pranks. So he goes to debunk the source of the noise, just to tell the girls, see, haha, I caught you. Obviously, you were pranking me. And he enters his daughter's bedroom, having heard the knocking coming from the walls this time. And what he finds there is the message written in ketchup. He turns around. LaPlante is standing there with his dead wife's dress on, with badly done makeup and a wig, carrying a fucking hatchet.
I would really like to know the thought process
behind
this.
Me too.
I mean, I can speculate. Yeah, but but I'm like, just again, so many questions. Though I have to say, the weapon of choice, a hatchet, is pretty metal.
Yes, it is.
It is pretty metal.
It's literally and figuratively metal.
Yes. Yeah. There's a whole lot to unpack there, and I honestly don't even know where to start. I mean, it could be as simple as, well, I'm pretending to be their dead mom, so I need to get into character. I'd like to know where he got the wig. I mean, it's possible it was honest to God hers. It is possible he went to a store.
I think it might have been, honestly, in the house or one of the houses that he went to. Yeah. So again, with the trophies,
yeah.
But yeah,
he is so textbook.
He is, and frankly, they're very lucky that the dad went to investigate this, because when the dad,
he would have done this.
Oh yeah, and who knows when he would have done his little piece de resistance and tried to attack. Thankfully, the dad stops the attack and reports, apparently, and I don't know a lot about this because there's not a ton of information out there, but apparently they report this to the police, and Daniel LaPlante is punished or charged with something, breaking and entering or something.
So,
but
I was going to say, it kind of sounded like, he was charged for his crimes, and because he was a minor and because there's a very obvious psychological issue, well, they didn't let him go because he did spend, I think I saw a year or something like that in a facility.
Yes,
in a psychiatric facility. However, it is a hell of a light sentence. Yeah. And judging by what happens next, he didn't receive much counseling or rehabilitation while he was in the facility he was in. From what I read, it seems like he was not in a juvenile hall. He was in a psychiatric facility.
That's what it seems like, yes.
But regardless, it seems like
gets back out on the street, goes back to
and he goes right back to his old ways in a month.
In a month,
was a fairly quick spiral down, which
is so.
Well, I mean, you could argue that this is this quote unquote cooling off period.
That's true.
Like other killers, they do have a cooling off period.
Yeah, before
they got caught, or they're close to getting caught, or they can't find the right thrill, so they can break. Or look at Raider, BTK. He took, a 20-year break for various reasons.
Yeah.
So it just, you could argue that this is kind of his cooling off period.
It is, and then like these other killers, he does escalate once he
quite quickly.
Yeah.
And that brings us to reason number 2 why we had a super hard time researching this, because just 2 months after he was released from the facility, so this is December 1st of 1987, LaPlante entered the home of Priscilla Gustafson after breaking in to a different home, and he stole another weapon. We think it might have been an axe or another hatchet.
That's what I've read.
Keep in mind, he was 17.
Right.
At this point.
Right. And already seasoned at this very bizarre sort of criminal behavior.
Right. He's had a lot of practice. I mean, he's been breaking into houses for
at least a year,
at least a year, and who knows how many homes. I mean, he lived in a house for 2 fucking months.
Yes, in the walls.
Sneaky motherfucker.
And frankly, how does one, without getting totally sidetracked, how does one even relieve themselves without it smelling the entire house up? I'm sorry, this is a consideration. Let's just be honest.
God, I didn't even think about that.
And B, how are you going to be so quiet that literally no one notices that you were living in their fucking walls?
Well,
What?
in theory, no one knew where the hell he was, so obviously he wasn't going to school.
True.
The girls were going to school, dad was going to work. So you could argue he had the run of the house during the day, and I mean, it wasn't like
That's true.
Like he was in quarantine.
That's true. You're right.
He did have most of the day. I mean, and then at night, that's when he would do his thing. Right.
Staying on the walls.
Right. And meanwhile, I'm like, how are the walls thick enough for a person?
Oh.
I mean, I know in older houses it's a little different and stuff like that, but still, it's like,
it's still very
creepy as hell.
It is, and you've really got to have a mindset that is just totally separated from reality at that. To be able to do that. That's not something, obviously, that someone who is in any way well would be able to do, let alone want to.
Right. Well, anyway, back to December 1st, 1987, he broke into the home of Priscilla Gustafson, who was a nursery school teacher, and she had two small children. One was 5 and one was 7, and she had a third on the way. Gustafson was found face down on her bed, and her pillows were covered in blood. She had been raped and shot multiple times at point-blank range, so he also somehow got a gun.
Yeah.
He drowned the 2 other children in separate bathrooms. Shortly there, right, and as someone with a small child, I just can't even. I can't
imagine.
Right?
I can't imagine, and to take the effort to do it in 2 separate bathrooms. That's a display right there, and that's pretty fucking sick.
Well, and it shows that even though the crimes are very, on the surface, I feel disorganized, he obviously planned this.
Obviously, yes.
There's nothing showing that he cased the joint or whatever, but this obviously had to be planned. I mean, he was very systematic in this. And after he did this a few times over, but I'm not sure how close it was to the Gustafson murders, he kidnapped another woman in her car.
Right.
Somehow this woman escaped, but by this point there was a full-on manhunt, and he was discovered in a dumpster 2 days after it started.
So he's obviously cool with living in small places, like live in a dumpster, live in the fucking walls. I don't know.
Well, and I mean, he obviously didn't really care about his personal hygiene at all.
Clearly not.
I mean, even before the dumpster living.
Clearly not. I doubt there was a walk-in shower in the dumpster or...
What? Have you not seen the dumpster?
No. I haven't seen the recent dumpsters. That's true.
No, not the recent ones. The recent ones are sketch. Those ones from the 80s, when from the Reagan years. Those were cushy.
Reaganomics just really did a lot for dumpsters. It must be said.
It did. I mean, we were obviously too young to know.
I have no idea what dumpsters look like. Yeah, no idea.
From the 80s, no.
Gotcha.
Right.
But yeah, he does. He's living in this disgusting dumpster after to avoid the manhunt. After it starts, he's eventually found. He's sentenced to 3 life sentences back to back for the murder of each of the Gustafsons. And where I came into the research was his resentencing hearing, where he essentially kind of somewhat pleads for leniency.
The laws had changed in Massachusetts by that point regarding the charging of minors, because he was still technically a minor.
He was.
And I believe the law changed there in 2016 as his trial was in 2017. The judge still gave him the maximum sentence under the new law, which was, I mean, good for him. Round of applause.
Yes,
for that judge. Primarily, he came to this judgment because of the forensic psychiatrist evaluation.
Yep.
As LaPlante was not remorseful. at all for his crime.
And he tried to play it off like he was.
God, I didn't even get to that part.
It was creepy, and it's almost not worth mentioning. It is, but it's like not. I don't know. He came off with this weird, like, robotic statement of essentially like, I am really sorry for the bad things I did. What were they again? I don't know, but I'm really sorry. It's like, man, you fucking murdered 3 people. Like, maybe be a little bit more sincere.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. Well, and I feel like it's a whole lot of antisocial personality disorder
Oh,
at this
God,
point.
yes.
It's obviously like a narcissist to a degree, but he's not a good actor.
Well, and that would be consistent with sociopathy, again, without diagnosing. Well, psychopathy, actually. No sociopathy of any kind, psychopathy, because at least a sociopath does have a degree of being able to assimilate into social society, at least to be able to, like, mimic social values and fake their way through things.
Like Bundy.
Yes, like Bundy. Even if it seems a little weird or a little hollow, like, they can fake their way through things. This guy has no frame of reference for that, thank God. Wouldn't be good if he did. He has no frame of reference for this. He has no emotional depth of any kind. I mean, a lot of cluster B personality disorders as a result of childhood abuse and trauma, and it's almost as if a switch in their brain gets turned off and it can't be turned back on. In a way, he was a victim, but I mean, let's be honest, with a repeat offender like this, if you let him out, he will do it again. Are you fucking kidding me? He will do it again.
And I can't do the math in my head at this point because my brain is basically jelly.
Yeah,
but
me too.
He would be at quote unquote his prime with no social skills. Being a facility more in his life than not. I mean, he would not be able to come back into
mainstream society.
I was going to say normal society, but there's nothing normal about our society.
No, that's true, especially not now.
Especially not now.
Yeah. There's no such thing. He could just join us all in quarantine. I have to ask you, have you been thinking of this too? That, like, hey, at least murderers aren't running rampant right now because they're all afraid of dying of the coronavirus.
So, yes and no. But with that said, the scary thought that's crossed my mind is when all of this is quote unquote over,
oh God,
how many things are going to come out as a murder that was really originally like corona, or something like that.
True.
So I thought about,
and people might actually, have an opportunity to perpetrate things like this because they have been locked up for months on end. So take care out there. Not that it's ever down to the victim or the potential victim even to mitigate your own behavior, but, like, watch out, be careful out there. And we're not trying to say, things like this happen to everyone at some point. They don't.
No,
but
there's a reason we are so morbidly fascinated by stories like this, is because they're not normal.
Right.
That's
they're worth remarking on. Exactly.
Right, exactly. If this happened every day, we'd be like, we'd be talking about normal things.
Yeah, we would.
Like puppies.
I'd be like, let's do a puppy podcast.
That'd be adorable.
That actually would be adorable.
But you couldn't see them because it's a podcast.
I know. We could do a visual puppy podcast. Well, it is one of those things, though, to think of when you're dealing with somebody like this. And I don't ever want to make it seem like glib, like, oh, well, there's a lesson to be taken away from everything and da-da-da. Like, yeah, you can take a lesson away from anything, but I don't want to be glib about the lives which were lost. However, I think there kind of really is a lesson to be learned in this situation, don't you? Just because it's like, it's one of those things where we're taught to, especially as women, turn the other cheek, give someone another chance. And with cases like this, it kind of confirms my decision, at least, that when someone shows you their ass, fucking believe them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it definitely shows, like, I mean, it shows so many things, like everything from lock your door to your first date should probably be with a group.
Oh, yes.
If you
in
think
public.
you're in a bad situation, well, at least she was in public.
Yeah,
like, if
that's
you think
true.
you're in a bad situation, find excuses to get out of
Just
it.
leave. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and if
And
you've
I
got
was gonna say, oh, go on.
sorry, I was going to say too, there's a quick thing I want to plug if I don't want to forget. And this is, I think, kind of important, but you guys take a moment and download the app Noonlight, Noonlight. It is a personal safety app, and I just really highly recommend download it. I'll try to put it in the description of the episode. If something should befall you, if you feel uncomfortable on a date or in a situation, all you do is open the app, hold down the button, and if you feel threatened or unsafe, let the button go. It's as easy as that. You don't have to be talking to anyone on the phone. If you're in front of someone who's behaving erratically or dangerously, it's just as simple as lifting your finger off a button. The police will be there in moments.
Oh my gosh, that's really cool. I was just gonna say, there's so many things right now where you go to a bar, you go to a restaurant, and they're like, "Hey, if you order this, we'll call the cops for you. If you
Yes.
order this, we'll take you to
Yes.
your car."
I
And
like that. I like that.
it's kind of sad that society has brought us to that, but at the
Well,
same time, it gives you a little bit of hope that there's people that you don't know that are at least could look out for you.
yeah, they have your back.
Right, which is, it's hard to come by nowadays, I feel like.
Well, I think that's a really good. Actually, I like that we both went to the exact same place at the same time, off the cuff.
Same page.
Yes, great minds. But really, though, like, do be aware of these things. It's okay to actually research things, like Sara just talked about. What at the local bar you're going to, or wherever you're going out to eat, look into this stuff, figure it out before you go. It's okay to do that. You're just Toby agrees, apparently. Just looking out for yourself, and definitely download Noonlight. It's totally free, and like I mentioned, it's just a matter of you press the button, you lift your finger off if you're in danger, the police come, you're saved, and your location is tracked the whole time.
That's a really cool thing. I wish I would have had that when we were younger.
Oh my God, me too. Me too. Why do we have to be so old?
Oh my God. Well, my birthday's next month.
Oh God, yeah, that's right. And then I'm shortly after that.
Right?
So
yeah. I like, even though I don't really think it's good that we can take lessons from something like this.
That's true. That's true.
I feel like if we don't learn from this and make an example of this, then it doesn't really honor these people's memories.
Right, and absolutely, that's a good point. And it will happen again at some point. So don't be the person who it happens to. Again, I don't want to emphasize in any way that it's down to a victim or a potential victim to avoid becoming one, because that is very problematic and not true. But it's something to keep in mind, definitely.
Right. And I mean, obviously, obvious problems with the criminal justice system aside, this guy really should be applauded for keeping the maximum sentence of 45 years.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure he did the research of what would happen if this guy went back out. He would obviously be a repeat offender. I mean,
yeah, unquestionably. I mean, he's already done it, twice already, that he's been a repeat offender. It's like, are you going for a three-peat or something? Like, no.
Exactly. So, that sort of thing definitely has to be applauded, that, the system at least works in this case.
In this case, it really did. And thank God for that. Somebody buy that judge a beer, because really,
yes. And this judge, please buy him a beer for us.
Please buy him a beer for us. Look, okay, put it on your tab, not ours. Don't be stingy, okay? Just buy him a fucking beer.
We'll give him a shout out. Whatever.
Exactly. We'll give him a shout out. That's your payment. You're welcome, basically.
Give you hero of the week.
Yeah. Oh, God. Anything that you particularly would like to add before we wrap up, so that Toby doesn't tear my door in half or eat his way through it?
I really want to just remind everybody again to, if you have a good idea for what we should call ourselves, please let us know.
Please let us know, yeah.
because our ideas are taken.
And crowdsourcing is good. You'll think of things we didn't think of.
Oh, exactly. If you guys want us to cover anybody in particular,
yes,
let us know.
Let us know, please.
We do have an idea for someone, but it will be kind of short. And I really want to talk about him because he's my favorite fella.
I'm excited.
But we do need another like short little one. So if you guys know anybody interesting or something like that you'd like us to talk about, let us know.
And I want to add something, and this is going to be a blatant ripoff of another podcast, and I fucking fully acknowledge that. And I just want to put that out there. If you have any stories of your own, like your personal stories, share them, and we'll talk about them on here.
Yes.
Blatant ripoff, but it works for a reason. So
those hero of the week. But, I mean,
true. And
you got to shout out to the people that led you here or whatever.
Yes, absolutely. So. Yes. Well, I mean, thank you all for listening and for just inspiring us to do this. And, thank you.
I have a lot of fun doing it.
It's a good break from our adult lives, too.
Yeah, even though we're talking about something super serious. And today did get real serious. It's definitely a nice little quote-unquote vacation. It's something that's always interested me for longer than I care to admit. I mean, I really thought about going into criminal psychology.
Oh, you would have been amazing at that. Oh, my God.
But it wouldn't have been amazing for my depression.
Same. When I got my degree in psychology, I got the choice to specialize in early childhood development, which I already had a separate degree in early childhood education. And I was like, well, and the other choice was abnormal psychology. So me back then says, let's do abnormal psychology, the thing I don't know anything about. And then I can obsess about this shit for the rest of my fucking life. And I did. And here I am. I don't know if that worked out.
I really wanted to work with like the guy who thinks he's a glass of orange juice.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
But I also know enough about me where I knew if I didn't see any kind of quote unquote results,
same.
I would like beat myself up because I'm like I'm low key competitive, but super low key.
No, you are though, in a good way, I think.
Competitive. I can be.
Same. Sometimes it's healthy. Other times it's like.
Yes. I try really hard to keep that in check. Because I'm that way, I knew that being a psychologist or a psychiatrist would end up being more problematic.
Oh, yeah.
So I decided I probably shouldn't.
I did too. And I took my degree and I'm literally a lifestyle consultant and accountability coach. Like I don't want to be treating people who have cluster B personality disorders. I'm sorry. I want to know about those people. And part of the reason I did select abnormal psychology as my area of specification was because I want to help people who are victimized by people like that. It's not like I'm just trying to fucking treat them. Like, no.
Yeah.
All they'll do when they go to things, like all they'll do when they go to fucking therapy is learn how to talk the talk and not walk the walk. And I don't want that. That's not.
Yeah. And, when I was 18, I didn't even think about doing something like that.
Yeah.
And,
right. Me neither.
Didn't even cross my mind.
Me neither.
So, and I didn't want to do just like regular consulting or anything like that. I didn't want to do quote unquote regular counseling.
Same.
That's part of the reason I started going to teaching, because I originally started going into teaching and then I switched my major.
And I went the other way.
And then
I went the opposite way.
I got my degree, and then like a year or so later, well, that's when I met you after college. Yeah. And then a year or so later, that's when I started going back to education school.
Yep.
And now I work in food safety.
Yeah, and now you work at in food safety.
Now I work at a food
I
actually still do a lot of teaching. Like
I you do with your what are you a manager or what do you, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'm a manager. I'm a food safety quality assurance manager.
So you do.
That reminds me. I have to shout out to all the killers I know at work.
Yes, hi killers. Hey. And I have to shout
Please
out.
note my big eye roll. Because that is for one person in particular, because he yelled at me for not making a shout out last time.
Hi, Killer at work. Shout out to you. And a shout out to the probable actual killers that I know. I have to say, I have counseled one killer at least.
Wow.
And she confessed her crime to me years ago in privilege. It was already dealt with legally, so
right. Wow. No, he was just
this is just
at work was just being silly.
And I have an actual killer that I'm literally shouting out. I hope to fuck she's not listening. I don't think she would. I don't think she's the type who would even have any interest in like factually based podcasts. She's more like living in the basement, conspiracy theorist, typing away on her blog type. So
she's like that picture of that guy from Always Sunny with all like the strings and everything.
Like just surrounding her. Yep, absolutely. But yeah, so thank you everybody who has listened in, and please feel free to contribute your stories and to let us know what your suggestions are for names of the show.
Yes. And like she said, stories, it doesn't have to be about murder. It could be about weird things.
Yeah, like weird, quirky things, supernatural things, whatever you want to do. Yeah,
because we're totally not stealing from another podcast.
Not at all.
Not several other podcasts right now. But yeah, if you think it's like an interesting story that you want us to like talk about, we would love to. Maybe next time we can talk about some of our weird, freaky things.
I like that. That's a good idea. We should.
Maybe we can talk about my favorite felon, and then we can share some weird, like supernatural things.
I like that. I can play my ghost video for you guys.
Ooh, I would like to see that. Ooh, I could tell my brother's story about the UFO he saw.
Oh my God. Okay, we have to do this. Yes, we have to do this.
Okay.
All right, you guys, please tune in. And by the way, we will eventually like fully spin off from Dominique Does Life at some point. But for now, please go to Dominique Does Life on Facebook, where you'll get like alerts when we go live. I'll definitely be sharing our archived episodes quite a bit. You can find Dominique Does Life on Spreaker, the free Spreaker app, Spreaker. And you can find us on Google Podcasts, on Spotify, on iTunes, just like basically anywhere. Find us. We'll be here. And thank you for listening.
I was going to say, do you have a Twitter that people follow you on?
I just have my own shitty Twitter, but I'll make one at some point. I'd be embarrassed if everyone saw my Twitter account.
Oh, okay. I was going to say my Twitter is pretty innocuous.
If you would like to share it, please feel free.
Sure. It's at Jack Todd, JAQTODD.
Okay.
There's a picture of a cute little puppy. I don't have many followers, and there's not a whole lot that I post other than like random political stuff. And Vernon Supreme replied to my tweet this week.
I think that's so cool.
Is my cool thing for the week.
I think that's actually really, really worth noting. I would
like. Just said you're welcome. I mean, it wasn't like a big thing, but nobody replies.
Nobody ever replies. I know.
No, nobody replies. Nobody retweets.
Kind of same here.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. So I was pretty excited about that.
We'll go see Vermin Supreme's reply to Sara on Twitter. And yeah, thank you guys. You are awesome. Please stay safe out there, and just know that you are, like, I know this sounds so dumb, but you're really not alone. Not that we're all experiencing the same thing, but you're not alone. So
right.
Take care and be well. Bye.